to have a great show too.
That's like the good luck piece of it, is saying that. She says it before everything.
It just started to be a thing. And the best part is that the first couple hosts or the guests that we had, I would say that and they're like, oh shit, where are you going? I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I just like, because it sounds like I'm saying goodbye, like have a great show. I'll see you guys later. But so I always had to tell people that in the beginning, like I'm not going anywhere. It's just one of the things that I do before we go live. So,
but if you don't know him, ladies and gentlemen, CJ DePalma, the movement doctor, physical therapist to the stars, runs his own podcast, lots of analytics, lots of CrossFit stuff. So we're excited. He had us on. We're very grateful for that. And we wanted to chit chat and get to know him a little bit more because, my dude, that weekend was stressful.
When we first officially met,
for sure.
Super stressful. I think you reached out to me before the games and you just wanted to have kind of like a little chat and just create some content around the games because your boys were gone and whatnot. And so it was very cool. And then the day before we were supposed to go live,
everything happened.
Yeah, everything happened.
Yep.
And I think I even messaged you and I told you, I was like, I don't. Yeah. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, dude. Like, this is super heavy. And it was.
Did you have any feelings of like we shouldn't do this, or did you almost feel more of an obligation to still have the show go on, or was it mixed emotions?
100% an obligation. Like I feel the way that I like process and decompress and like work through those things is just by talking it out, right? I also have a filter through this sort of medium, but in general, I like to keep my opinions out there, and I don't really have anything to hide. And there was a lot of things that needed to be vented, and I just felt like it was appropriate. By the way, in totality of all views for all shows, it still hasn't reached the amount of views for that show.
That was going to be my next question. That was going to be my next question. Yeah. No, that was an important show. Just because I think the community was looking for anybody and any media in the space, because when it happened, we were all in the space, we were all watching the games, and then everything went black and nobody knew anything. And I think because of this sport, it's not like it's a national news sport where if something happens in football, like the media is still going to be running, people are still going to be talking about it. And so for us, it was like everything happened and people were just looking for something. Did you feel a sense of, even when you felt still that it was an obligation for you to have the show, whether we chose to come on with you and felt like we were okay to come on with you or by yourself, did you feel any pressure to do it?
Yes, I feel pressure every time I go on the show, to not look like an idiot. Just going live in general, or having anyone on or interviewing someone or anything in that matter. But I don't know. I feel like that's just how I've operated my entire life, right? I never waver, humbly. I never waver at the point of contention or is this going to go well? It never bothers me, right? If it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. My goal is to just not get on. I mean, of all the episodes that weekend, right, is everyone was so mad in all directions. Everyone was fighting, right? So as long as I just didn't go on there and just been I don't know, fuck Lazar. I mean, I felt like it was going to be fine, right? So it was just to create a medium for people to just talk and argue, right? Which is totally cool. And so, yeah, I mean,
did you get any?
Yeah, there was pressure for sure, but I mean, it doesn't, I don't process it like that.
Did as much chatter as was happening in the chat that day, did you get any backlash from that? Was there any like weird DMs or anything? Because we didn't get a thing.
No, I think everything was pretty positive, right? Like we were really neutral on it, right? We didn't like take a hard stance like
we
the
didn't know
athlete
anything yet.
stance.
There was nothing.
We didn't know
Yeah.
anything. But I mean, at that point, there was still plenty of hard stances. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like basically like whoever you listen to on podcasts and on YouTube, right? Like the hard stances were in, and no one has wavered from that bit. You know what I mean? And so, but that's just not the goal, right? Like it's not my podcast specifically, it's WODPREP's, right? So I have to take into consideration that there's a much larger company out there. Even though I am a face of it in general, I still have to keep that in mind. It's not just my own brand. The Movement Doctor itself is WODPREP, and WODPREP is substantially larger than I am.
Right. Let's get it. What's up, Vindicate? Who did we miss? We missed everybody. Hey, Gus. What's up?
Gus.
He's very sorry he missed your show on Monday.
Talked about football and you weren't there. Shame.
I went to bed an hour and a half before your show started that morning.
Should have just fucking stayed up.
What's up, Vindicate? I'm not wearing your shirt tonight, but go get Vindicate shirts. Go check him out. He's got the Hamptons hoodies, which I absolutely love because I actually live in the Hamptons. So go get your Hamptons hoodies, and hopefully we'll get to spend a lot of money on Vindicate when we go to Crash Crucible next week. So super excited for that.
Yep.
Kenneth, they took our jobs. What?
I don't know. I saw
Gus,
that come through.
Gus was saying that we stole his job the day that we
Me and Gus were live, like when it happened.
Oh shoot.
Oh shit.
Did you?
And so no, I mean, so we ended the show when the event stopped. So right at that hour mark, but at the 55-minute mark, we didn't know anything. They were just like, so we just ended it. We're like, all right, we'll see you guys later. We were going to come on a little bit later for another show, right? Like during the day. And so, I mean, there's some like off the cuff verbiage in that show, right? Like, we're looking at the leaderboard and like, how, Hapalainen and Lazar's thing isn't there, right? And I for sure like made a joke of like, oh, did they drown? Like that for sure came out at some point in there because they're both very fit individuals and shouldn't have been in last place, right? Like just in a passing bit. So yeah, I mean it's nuts. It was crazy. It's very like I went back and watched it and I was like, it's wild. Just like here, like how like how we were just generally talking about it, right? Like it was no big deal. Lazar was for sure in whatever placing. We just thought his chip timer just didn't work properly because we saw him when I mean we remember seeing it live, like when Tia passed. I was like, that's Lazar. Yeah, like we just knew and then it just wasn't, it just wasn't there.
And we said the same thing too, because it wasn't in the like it was in the live stream, but it was while Tia was crossing the line. And it was like, what were you watching? I was watching Tia.
And the
finish panned out. I mean, the camera did too. The camera panned and it was like on the finish line. So,
and I think we, on the podcast that we did on your show, the next day, you had asked me like how I was feeling about it. And it still to this day feels like two stories that literally like don't make sense together. You know what I mean? Like, because you're watching it real time and everything seems normal. Everything seems fine. People are getting lost. We even we're making jokes like, okay, who's that one that's off course over there? Who's over here? Yeah. Did people get out of the water like in the brush and not on the finish line? Like, because where were the buoys? We talked about all this type of stuff. And then you realize what happened. And then you have people putting the timeline of when everything happened and the reality of what happened. It's like neither one of them they don't make sense that they should be the same story. And yet they are. And it's even crazy. To this day, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Gus, CG and I were both sitting there like Lazar's chip timer must not have worked properly. That's when we heard that Hapalainen's like his chip didn't work properly, but he was good. I just assumed it was kind of you know what I mean? Like I just thought, okay, cool. he's in an ice bath somewhere, you know?
Yep.
That was, how did you, the next day we went on again, or you and I went on again the next day. I was drained, dude. I don't know how you felt that day.
Yeah. You know, it's different, right? Like I think we talked about this on the show. Like I've processed like way too much death at 34 now. I was 33 when that happened, but I'm 34 now. I had a birthday in between. I've processed, thank you. I've processed a lot of death close to me, family, like immediate family, friends, close friends, like a lot of near death, drugs, etc. And so it in and of itself, that isn't what like exhausted me. It's selfishly like, how is this going to affect WODPREP, or how's this going to affect the CrossFit space? How's this going to affect WODPREP? How's this going to affect me and my ability to provide for my family? And then how's this going to provide for my family? How's this going to affect my family? And so go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of didn't even, I get that. I get that you've processed death. Yeah, we did talk about that. I have too. It wasn't even so much processing his death so much as having to talk about it that much, or having to unpack feelings that much. So you process that much death. Normally you compartmentalize and push it down, and you don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of like fly by the seat of my pants. Like everything is like on my, like, you know, on my shirt sleeve. Like I wear my emotions like out there. You can ask anyone that knows me pretty well. I'm a pretty passionate and outspoken person. And when I'm upset, you know, and when I'm happy, you know, and when I don't like what you're fucking doing, you know, pretty immediately, because I don't hold it in. My wife probably hates it, but it is what it is. And she's a processor. I'm not, right? Like I don't take time to process like anything like that. Like, you know, I don't need to like sit. My head is always all over the place. So like, I don't need to add anything else to the, I call it the spider web. Right. And so I don't need to add anything else to the spider web. And so it doesn't bother me. Like it probably helped me work through it a lot better, but I was for sure drained. Right. But more like, because of how much my mind is racing on like, all right, what do we do? What do we need to like, what do we need to change? Like, what do we need to prepare for? Do I need to save money? Do I need to like sell my truck? You know what I mean? Like is CrossFit done? You know, like all of those things. Like, do I need to like, you know, prepare for 6 months, no income, etc. Like that's where like my mind goes, mainly just because of like, how can I provide for my family? I want to make sure that they're always safe and ready, you know, continue to live the life that they live. So,
and that was something that you spoke of very open and honestly on the podcast that we did together, you know, and did you get any backlash for that? Because some people would say, well, that's being insensitive, but you're like, hey, this is, it's like with things like this, especially in the space that you are in, like this is your job. So you kind of have to think about it from a job's perspective. Did you get any sort of backlash for like that, or have any bigger conversations with anybody that maybe didn't like that at first, hearing that from you?
Probably like in the thread, like in the chat. I mean, I assume that probably happened throughout the chat, but no, not really. I think most of the people that reached out were really just generally positive throughout the whole weekend. Because I think the goal of the weekend, right, to like go on and be live was to just not bash anyone, right? Just like, hey, everyone's within their own right to feel how they feel at this time. You know, maybe we've changed my mind a little bit later. It's like, all right, let's start to be more logical and reasonable, etc. But you know, I mean, there was like a 96-hour grace period that I think everyone was there. Maybe people not in the chat, like just general chats, like everyone's really strong, opinionated, but it's like not my job to like assume that their opinion is wrong, right? You know, and so our job on camera, you know, is to, if that's the goal, right, is to just facilitate a conversation.
For sure.
Did you ever picture yourself ever having to do something like that afterwards, when weeks went by and I sat back and thought about it? I was like, man, when I started this podcast, I started it for, I never assumed or never thought about
that would be
the responsibility that comes with that. You know what I mean? That's a lot of responsibility that comes to have a place for people to come and speak their feelings and get it out. So for me, afterwards, when I sat back and thought about it, I was like, geez.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, your podcast is pretty talk about, you know, CrossFit, talk about the state of CrossFit, talk about programming, helping people fix their joints, helping people move better, you know, just happy, help people things.
Right.
And now we're helping people with sad things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, I don't mind talking about any of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, as you say, there probably was way more pressure than like I digested at that point in time, or like more responsibility. And so yeah,
you were laughing at that.
What's up, Willie?
So yeah, I mean, when you put it like that, but again, our space is important and it's big to us, but in general, it's really small, right? You know, it's not that big. We all support each other, even though we talk shit about each other or whatever it is, right? Like, you know, so I always want the podcast and WODPREP to just be like a space where people come to get better, right? If we got to talk about hard shit, then we talk about hard shit. And it just is, you know, it is what it is. I don't know. I think, yeah, I probably should feel like more like heavy with that stuff, but I just don't.
You're a dude. I'm trying to figure out how dudes think. That's just that's you know, really what this is.
Interestingly enough, like I have a lot more emotion than most guys, but within my family, like, and in my personal life, like something like that, like externally, like it just, that's not where my emotions are going to take control of me. Right. I guess probably.
You're able to
hold on, Dick Butter. I have something hard we could talk about.
Wrong show.
I bet you do.
Wrong show.
Not right now. Kenneth Rockhard. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Deadpool later because that was amazing.
Yeah, and the boys will be back on soon. That's the show.
Yeah, that's the show for Rockhard.
I want to get on that show.
You should.
Oh, you want to jump on the?
I want to get on that show. Is this like is that like an unfiltered show?
That's so bad.
It's ridiculous.
That is the one show that I choose to not be on so that the boys can feel comfortable to just say what they want to say.
But she's coming on the next one, so maybe it'll be like
not if you have CJ. If CJ wants to hang out and take my spot, like I will retreat back into the
That's fire.
Okay. I had a question. So when you
CJ, you don't want on that show.
It's a show.
I want the smoke. Give me the smoke, baby. Give me the smoke.
One of the questions that I think I've heard on different podcasts surrounding this incident is this whole idea of when you look at CrossFit, did you ever think that
I gotta stay out of the chat.
Like, do you ever think that something like this would happen? You know, because CrossFit's such a baby. It's so. Did you ever think that something like this would happen?
Like CrossFit? someone could die.
Someone could die in CrossFit, yeah, in competition.
So, are we saying like just in general, or like the specifics of like negligence possibilities, or just in general?
No, just in general, from like
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
100%. I've watched people. I've known people that have passed away in the sport. Right. I've also had a stroke doing CrossFit. We've.
You personally?
Yeah.
And
so it's, it's hard when you do hard things and you push the needle and you want to take performance and to the highest levels of the world. Kenneth knows. That's just the inherent risk, right? But it's no more risky than sitting on the couch, right? Which is actually substantially less risky, right? I mean, it just is, right? But when you take fitness in CrossFit's like foundational thoughts, right? Like functional movement, high intensity across modal domains, and you take that and you create a sport to it, then people are going to push themselves to dangerous levels all the time, right? But that's just like football. That's just like baseball and basketball and soccer.
Yeah,
and
read
everything, right? And so it's an inherent risk with competition when physical attributes are needed to be good in the competition, right? So like just in general, right? Like no more than I think of any other sport, right? I mean, we can make adjustments. Yeah, exactly. High intensity exercise is dangerous.
Jeffrey Birchfield on the show. So there you have it.
Yeah. And I think anything is inherently dangerous when you try to push the bounds of human potential. That's it. And that's what we do, right? I mean, that's not what everyone does. That's what the 1% does. So at the games, when they're doing Murph at 110 degrees, that's dangerous.
But also if you don't do anything, it's just as dangerous.
It's 10 times more dangerous.
Because
10 times more dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. It's not even a question.
I get you.
So then do you feel like that there should be a separation in CrossFit between the sport and the methodology? Yeah, I think we all, there is a separation. I mean, there is, like, we know there is, right? Should it be like more clearly defined lines as like a different company or whatever?
But I think the CrossFit heads know that there's a difference between the two. I don't think the general public maybe.
Right. Yeah. And whose fault is that?
Right.
Yeah.
CrossFit's fault, right? For not doing a good enough job. But to their defense, they just started a new page on YouTube. Whatever they put out yesterday was really nice, right? The like hear my story or whatever it is. Like that's the shit that needs to be out. Right. Yeah. And it's like I think it's like a huge weight loss follow along story. Right. And looks like media changed. And so that's the stuff that we need, right? Like for what we need CrossFit to grow as from a methodology, right? That's like where like the Greg focus is important. All of that stuff is really good. Maybe not like make everyone feel like they're dumb because you talk with big words, but for the most part, show the stories, highlight nutrition, highlight healthy living, et cetera, and then let the sport fill that like marketing void as well, but just do a really good job of saying like, yes, this is like what they eventually get to potentially, if that's your goal, right? But this is what the predominant are doing, right? And that's all media. Media is supposed to do their job to separate those two effectively.
That's Tyson. Hey, Jonathan Ortega, Tyson and Mariah created those. That's cool. They're awesome.
That's cool.
Do you worry at all that the outcome of this investigation or whatever may happen or blow up at the end of this, that there might not be a CrossFit Games, or it might, I don't think that, the other stuff, Rogue and things, will ever go away. Like Tier WODPREP.
CrossFit won't go away.
Right. But do you think that the games might?
No, not a chance. No? Not a chance. Now, Dave might be gone. Dave might stay, right? If CrossFit was going to listen to the PFAA, Dave wouldn't have been at Masters and Adaptive.
Okay.
Like kissing babies and shaking hands and being a face. He was there. Boz was there. Don was there. Both of them. I talked to him both times. And if they were intending on listening to anything that they demanded, it would have already happened, or they would be hiding him, right? And so, lawyer, we've already shown that we can be successful without Dave, right? I want Dave to stay, hands down, and I'll sing it. I love Dave. I'm a loyal person. I'm super, super loyal. But if Dave ended up getting fired or left or whatever, Boz has shown that he can do Dave's job successfully. Right. And with an improvement in the media team, I don't foresee why CrossFit Games can't do what they do. Right. Now, with that being said, it does seem like some of the bigger names are going to do their thing and they're going to, protest and maybe not compete or whatever. There's too many people in the world. There's too many people in this sport, right, that have big booties and big followings that are like almost games athletes, and they'll make it to the games and then people will still go and watch. Right. It doesn't take much for the games to be successful from a participant. They're going to sell out the tickets. Okay. And people are going to spend money when they go there. Right now, if they were trying to sell out 100,000 person stadium, then we could talk. It's 12,000 people. That's not that much. Right. especially when it goes overseas and they're trying to make this adjustment, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, will it look different? For sure. I think the season is already going to be drastically different this year. I think it was already irrelevant and not connected to Lazar's death at all. Right now, that might have sped it up, and
exacerbated it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, and you know, and so, but for the most part, you know, this is the problem with CrossFit, right? The ever evolution that they're going through, right? We just need to stick with one thing, but that's Dave's MO. That's what he does. And so hopefully we're starting to get to a point because of all the financials. I think we've had this, like, I kind of like, we're in like a post-apocalyptic CrossFit from like 2018, right? So if we think about it, like any post-apocalyptic movie, right? They're like, technology is regressed, right? Like they don't have the same technology, don't have electricity or whatever it is, right? And so they're living with, you know, like what would theoretically be like the 1800s. That's where we are in CrossFit, right? So we had this peak of all of this stuff, and now we're on this downturn. And so we need to basically find where we are in the downturn and stop expecting that we're going to be like 2018 and just find some consistency so we can potentially like rebuild our technology and get back to where we were right at our peak. But I don't think it's going anywhere. It'll just take some time. You know, but they do a good job of shooting themselves in the foot of getting back to, you know, the glory days, as they say. But hopefully they'll, you know, figure it out.
You don't think the maybe 5, 6 athletes that are like, hey, I'm not doing this anymore, it won't cause like a mudslide of people to be like, I'm not doing it anymore either?
It's too many people that want it.
Yeah.
It's too many people that don't care. And there's not enough people that do care. Care is probably a bad word because obviously everyone cares about the situation. But like to protest it out like that, like this is their livelihood. This is their job. There's only 5 or 6 people that make enough money for them to be able to say that I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. Right. Like there's not like, so, and that's where it is, right? It's not like the, NFL, right? Or like a athlete strike, right?
Yeah.
So it's not feasible, right? You rinse and repeat. They'll get replaced. You know, I don't want that. I want the best in the world to compete. Mm-hmm. Right. But if they do protests and say the top 10 are gone, right? Whatever that looks like, 11 through 20 will turn in, and then 31 through 40 will be new people.
And this is just my thought process. And the chat can yell at me, and you can yell at me if you want to. It's fine. But
I like yelling.
That's fine. You can. I can take it. When it was the winner this year, Spraggy boy, when he won, everybody was like, well, he's not the real winner. He didn't really win. If this, and this all happens, like, so my thought process was, if all these high level games athletes drop out, it's just going to be 87 years of, well, they wouldn't have won if such and such, or so it's not a real winner. It's not a real champion because CrossFit isn't really the same now. It's not what it was. Because you know me, I'm in my 40s. I like to look back at the glory days. So I'm like, if it's, 2015, 16, okay, you fucking won. If it's not, you didn't win. I'm still the person that argues, is Ben Smith and, the whatever, are they really like, or are they interim champions? Like, I like arguing all that stuff. And I just feel like that will.
So what's your stance on it? What's your stance? So you think James is not?
I think James won. No, I think James won. That was a circumstance that happened. He was the fittest at that time. I think he won.
Yeah, I mean so this argument is it lacks like substance, right? Because Matt Frazier retired, but no one claimed the issues with Justin because he just retired. But Matt Matt could still take 6 months, and he could probably make it happen.
That's fair, but I mean,
the same thing with Rich, right? Like, it's super clear that if Rich just nutted up and went individual, he'd make the games. Like, and he would, right? Like, but no one makes that comparison because they don't want to, and it's not in the forefront of their mind, right? It's easy to say that James wouldn't win because they just they just, like Adler was gone. It's like, well, Adler probably wouldn't have won the games this year because they ran, 11 out of 10 events. Right. And so, the games, I mean, there were still a lot of really fit people that did the entire thing. Right. Now, when we talked about
nobody argues the Laura Horvath thing that she didn't, you know what I mean? Nobody argues the fact that Tia won because Laura wasn't there. Because Tia would have, we all
people do argue, but they know
that.
I mean, they just know that like she would have lost.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? But she won that year and she was the fittest in the world and that's what she deserves. But it's very unlikely that she would have beat Tia.
Yeah.
Right. It's very unlikely anyone beat Tia. Right. Like John said the other day, he's like, I want her to keep winning so everyone else can join me in hating her. And then that's what he said. I don't support that message. I like Tia.
Vindicate, here's your smoke. Did you just call Rich a pussy?
Nope. I said that he doesn't want to do the thing. I didn't say that. I said he needs to nut up and go back to individual. But he doesn't want to. He also runs the most successful CrossFit company in the market. But I don't know. It probably makes more money than street parking. Probably because they have so many avenues of income. Hell, I mean, that company might be worth like a large percentage of what CrossFit itself is worth. So
I think he could buy CrossFit if he wanted to.
No. He doesn't have that much money. That's like Mark Cuban money.
Okay. Oh man, I just saw Mark Cuban on a podcast today. He was fucking fire. But I don't like his politics. But I do he's fire. But
yeah, I didn't realize. Anyways, not getting that. I didn't realize he was like a super liberal.
Yeah. Did you see him on Flagrant? Is that where you saw it?
No, someone told me and like I found a YouTube clip and I was like, holy shit. I would have never thought
he's on a giant Kamala tour right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's on a giant Kamala tour right now. I was like, my guy, what is happening? But if you listen to him, I don't know if I don't know.
He hates Trump. He's part of the hate Trump campaign. Like you can't just regardless of where you stand, you can't just be like, I support Kamala and everything that she says. And it's like, well, she ain't say shit. Last night was the most consistent and educated political argument I've heard in 12 years in the vice presidential debate.
We were all surprised.
I was like, wow,
everybody was surprised.
I didn't hate Walz. I was like, I don't hate him. I was like, I don't agree with everything he says, but I don't hate him. Like he talks in complete sentences and actually uses facts. Like fuck. I mean, like, good job, buddy. I was like, man, I actually want to keep watching this.
It's amazing. I didn't want to turn it off. Yeah, it's amazing when adults can put words together and make, clear sentences and answer questions as they're asked. Like, I ask you this question, I'm going to answer this question, and you're not going to ask
CJ
this question.
CJ is a raging lib. Oh, is he trolling you right now? Please tell me.
100%.
100%. Cuban Lost Me used to be a fan. Yeah, it was hard listening to him. I will say that. It was I was trying to understand his arguments, and I was really trying to pay attention to what he was saying and try to grab onto if he had any logic about it. But what did he couldn't tell me anything that she's done that he likes.
She hasn't done anything. We know that.
All he was saying was that he just likes her better as a person.
Yeah, which is that's within his right, but that's not how you should vote.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's a really bad way to vote, right? Like, yeah, Waltz made a good statement last night. We don't have to keep talking about politics, but
that's fine.
He said, I don't know, it was maybe like 25 minutes in and they were talking about something and he was like, whatever you do and whatever you listen, you should be listening to, like, whether you like me or you like JD or you like Trump or you like Kamala, you should be listening to how this affects you and your family. And I was like, I was like, dude, that almost makes me want to vote for you. I was like, I'm not, but it makes me almost want to. And I was like, because that's the only thing that matters, right? Like everything, you guys will see this theme in me, however long we talk, is like everything that I do is for the betterment of my family. 100%. And call me selfish, that is it. Everything else comes second. I mean, everything else. Yeah. Society, everything, other people, friends, everything comes second after my family.
Colleen's gonna comment on that in a second, but hold on. Jody Lynn, what's up, girl? Club Shay Shay? Was Cuban on Club Shay Shay? If he was, I'm gonna go watch it. I saw him on Flagrant. But babe, you were just saying this morning, like you're voting for your own, and
my own,
what's good for your own.
My own comes
I knew
first.
we were going to talk about politics.
I didn't. I wasn't trying to get there.
No, and we don't have to spend much time talking about politics, but that is something that I can say for me, since taking off the very liberal glasses that I used to wear for a very, very long time, is that mine comes first. My son comes first without question. And I always say, if that makes me a bad person in someone else's eyes, I can live with that, because the same way that someone else chooses to vote for the rights of their family and what's best for their family, I would never judge somebody for that, you know? And so for me, the more that I'm like, well, these are my fine lines and I'm not crossing these fine lines. And the number one thing for me is that I need to make sure that my rights as a good parent are not going to get taken away because the government and people have their own personal agendas that they want to start throwing at other people's children that are not your children. That is a very hard stance for me. And if you think that I'm being, like you said, selfish or not caring about other people, cool. That's fine. I'll put selfish across my forehead.
Cool. Yeah, I know you guys deal with like you're in a different boat, right? Like with specifically that issue or whatever that line, right? You know, and I know it can affect you differently depending on what gets instated or reinstated or whatever it is, right? So, I heard you guys talking about it at some point.
No, that's not just us. I mean, it is for our state.
Right.
Yeah, specifically for it's the same law that, if you guys don't know, we have to vote on a law this year, this election, that's like, if we don't affirm our kids' gender, whatever, then the state can step in and make decisions for us the same way that they do in California and other places. I think there's two.
And also I think part of it too is that parents or that teachers have a right to not tell parents about stuff that's going on in school. I'm like, nope.
Hey, so just to let you know, Pensacola needs what do you own? You own a family business, right? What's it called?
Yeah, it's a deli.
Like a meat market?
The chattel call it a bodega.
All right, so Pensacola needs a bodega, and Florida's great. You ain't got to worry about that shit in fucking Florida at all. Can you pull up?
Hot down there.
Can you pull up Bernie? No, it's fucking not. Anyway, can you pull up
Bernie's comments? Yeah, go ahead.
So, CJ.
So
down there.
So when politicians make policy that benefit themselves and their families, should we not have a problem with that? That's not their job. Their job is to make policies that benefit the mass. That's the goal, right? Like, unfortunately, that is not their job, right? They have like taken that out, right? That benefits them the most. If they are there, they shouldn't be in that position. Like, in my opinion, right? Like, you have your own opinions and your own beliefs and things like that, but like, you should be making policies that benefit the masses and that will help move our economy, our social situation, everything in a positive direction, right? Like, that's it. And just the things that benefit us the most, in my opinion, those things will benefit me and my family if those things move in a positive direction, right? But some people don't believe that, right? Like, they feel, and that's okay. That's why they vote, right? But no, if you're making laws and you have that kind of power, absolutely not. You don't get to bias your personal beliefs over the betterment of society.
Or Bernie, I would say that for us, I think we just feel like we don't want government interference on how we raise our kid. And that's just, I don't feel like there should be secrets kept from us. I feel like we shouldn't be involved in every metric when it comes to our kid. So maybe that's a better explanation, but just, no, I don't think that they should make mass decisions or like tell parents how to raise their kids. I don't think they should be in my house, basically. All right, are we out of politics or are we?
Yeah, let's move away from politics.
Let's get away
because
from
I want to ask, I would love CJ's opinion on, do you feel that athletes that are still currently competing should be members of the PFAA?
Ooh, I think so. So in my profession, physical therapy, we have a board, right? Or we have a governing body, and we have like a group, right? Like similar to the PFA, right? Like it's a lobbying group that we pay for. Most people don't pay for it. Why? Because they don't do shit. Okay. And they don't do shit because they don't have any money. right? So it's a chicken or the egg, right? It's a round and round and round in the negative way. The PFAA is in the same boat. Until the PFAA holds the cards, right? People shouldn't be obligated to join it, right? Now, with that being said, the only way they're going to hold the cards is when everyone joins it, right? So it is what it is, right? I think CrossFit's in a really unique stance in this whole unknown and unknowable, right? And so with that, it limits how much outside interaction is possible, right? Like influence and opinion, professional opinion, it's so young. And so do I think everyone should be part of it? I think if you want to be a part of it, you should, but I think right now where they are, you can't force people to, and I don't think they're organized enough or in the position where I think everyone has to be a part of it. Like I support the PFAA in like the end goal to create safety and professionalize the sport, because I want the sport to be professional in time. But I don't think they're there yet. And it's going to take a long time. They're going to have to start collecting dues. They're going to have to make professional, like full-time members, like they're going to have to create a true board and things like that, and positions, etc. And so your chat's funny. And so eventually, yes, but also the PFAA shouldn't be attended by any current members, like in general, even when it's like in full stride, right? Like it should be supported by the members, but it should be all retired athletes, right? That don't have any play in any say in any programming thing, which is also going to be basically impossible.
Yeah.
Right. Because what does everyone do when they quit? They're famous. They got a lot of Instagram followers. They either put their abs on there and they won, or they podiumed at some point, or they put their big old booty on there and then they show it all off and they sell a program, right? And they sell people and they try and teach people how to do CrossFit. Thus, you can't be a part of the PFAA because there might be somebody that does your program and now you're privy to information, right? Because you're part of the PFAA and CrossFit's communicating with you about here are the events or here's some structure. So this is going to be a big obstacle to overcome just in the nature of CrossFit to have a union, basically. And I have no idea how they're going to overcome it. They talk about bringing outside experts in. I'm like, guess what? CrossFit doesn't know. There's not enough information about CrossFit to have outside experts currently, right? It's so nuanced and it's so specific, right, to like what we do that it would be almost impossible for an outside expert physiologist or whatever, anatomist or anything of that title to be able to give an appropriate opinion on the sport.
Maybe could it be like professionals or specialists in water safety, for instance, or could it be a professional, weightlifting where that's more of a conversation of safety around like barbell stuff or marathon? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel like there's anything like that for those specific things, or is it because CrossFit's nuances are so many that even that might be a little bit too specific?
I mean, everyone weighed in, right, on the incident and how the and then everyone not in the space because of fucking, I don't know, what's his name? Mitch Hooper, right?
Yep.
Or like, oh, you never run, but this is why you never run before you swim. And that alone tells me, no, you can't have those people.
Okay.
Personally, right? Like, because that's a dumb statement. That's an ignorant statement. That doesn't mean anything. People do that shit all the time. There's literally biathlons that are run swim at a high level. Yeah. Like at an Olympic level. I mean, these people are doing like, like 1 mile swims and, 10K runs in like under an hour. Right. Like, I mean, under 45 minutes. Right. So like, so like there's, so to say that is just not, it means there's just too much nuance to go through it. Right. And I mean, there's probably a way around that, right? Like someone that's been in the space that like does CrossFit, that has been an expert, like in another bit, so it's possible, but as like the question is, as you asked it, no, I don't think those are the people.
Uh-oh, Trish, what's the matter? What
Hi,
do we
Trish.
do? grow up. We sound like children. What'd we do? What happened? What's the matter?
I don't know.
I know Bernie's mad at us too.
He's always mean to me.
Oh,
Trish is always mean to you.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yikes. I think it's Bernie again, and I think it's delusional to think that doesn't happen. And your philosophy seems naive. The philosophy not to want the government to make a decision on what I have to do with my kid about their gender, because that's what I was talking about. So I don't know, but I'm gonna vote no for it.
I think he's talking about mine of saying that like they shouldn't be in position. I know they do. I'm just saying that's the wrong way to think. Like that shouldn't be how they think in their position as a lawmaker. Okay. That was it. Yeah,
he said no, not that.
Oh, okay.
Brian said no, not that.
HDR, I don't understand this at all. How do you affirm genders? It's basically a law that says if my kid tells me he wants to be a girl and I don't take him to get the hormone blockers and crap, that I'm wrong and they can take my kid away for that and do it themselves, pretty much. Hey, the bodegas in New York right now, Kenneth, they're actually having parties, and they're like private parties where it's invite only and nobody knows which bodegas have them.
Really?
Yeah, in the city. I just saw that this morning. I was like, oh shit, do we need to start throwing like late night parties with invite only?
Like a little speakeasy.
Yeah, right?
Like it just like turns in, like you gotta like knock 3 times, like kick it once. Oh, and like the passcode is like rock, paper, scissors, and then you let it in.
It does look amazing. It looks very like Spanish dancing kind of whatever. I mean, if my wife had her way, it'd be all 80s music. But
yeah, that's my shit.
I fuck with that.
I mean, yes, my wife does not.
Oh shit.
My wife does not, but
wait, hold on. Sorry, Kenneth. I'll get back to that. Have you learned nothing from Diddy? Yeah, my bad. Sorry. No parties, no baby oil, no late nights, nothing after we close the store at 3:00. That's it. We're not doing any of that.
Done.
Yeah, nah. Never mind. Just kidding. That's probably not a good idea. But I'm not rich and I can't afford any of the shit that he afforded to throw. What
everyone can afford baby oil, okay?
Oh, not 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I can't. Trish, movement doctor. Should I throw away my toe spacers?
I like toe spacers. I don't think they do what everyone thinks they do, but I think people should be barefoot and be able to splay their feet. Yes, but I think just wearing toe spacers is kind of silly. You can just be barefoot a little more often. I support that. Ground yourself. You guys should probably ground yourself more. It's probably really hard to ground yourself in the city. Do you know what that means?
Put your feet in the grass.
Like in dirt.
Get in nature.
Like a dirt, like not a concrete or not tile.
I watch way too much YouTube, because when you say ground yourself, all I can think of is sunning your butthole. Like that's literally
what for sure.
I'm trying.
I mean, everyone sees that picture too. Like that girl was like kind of attractive and she's just like on the rocks. Like, pretty sure she got. I feel like I heard like a wild rumor that she ended up getting cancer, like from
really?
Like the direct like a skin cancer on her butthole. That's for sure a lie, but I heard it somewhere, and I want to make sure I spread it.
Oh yeah,
100%.
I said sunning your butthole, and you're like, I want to make sure I spread it. That's amazing. Yep. Clip that. Let's go.
So
Clinton, thanks. Here we go. Liver King, grounded to the earth. Yeah. I know, and then they started
a copious amount of steroids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said he's short. I don't know where was that on.
It has to be short. I mean, yeah, he's got to be short. There's no way that he's like wildly tall.
You don't think he's over 5'10", like a CrossFit, like the prime CrossFitter height? No, he's short.
Yeah, to be that big. I mean, whether you etch your abs or not, or whatever he did, to be. I mean, he would have to look like that. He'd have to be like 250 pounds to be that big if he was tall.
Oh shit, he's like Sev on site.
No, I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that short.
Damn. Have you met Sevon in person?
Yeah, I've seen him in person many times.
He's small. He's tiny.
Very tiny.
Oh, well, now we've moved into the after hours part of the show. Jake Chapman, I burnt my testicles once as a nudist on the beach. Did you really go? All right, that's another show. Never mind, forget it. All right, moving on.
It's the way these shows go.
Listen. Wait, Trish had a comment for you somewhere. She actually asked you. Yeah, she did. She asked you a real
about drinking urine?
Yeah, there you go.
Does drinking urine actually have benefits?
I don't think that's I don't know I'm assuming no. It's a base, right? So theoretically it would be, it's just waste, right? So I actually don't think it would, like from a biological standpoint, like it's a base. It's not acidic. I don't think there's actually like, because it's literally just waste. So I can imagine it probably isn't good for you. Like if we were being serious about the general question.
I
know.
It's just
gross.
All right, cool. We answered chat questions.
Moving on.
Yeah.
What questions do you have, babe?
I never get to ask any of the questions I want by the end of the show. I never get to do it. But we were talking about the PFA and whatnot, and can they like get it together and have stand in kind of solidarity? And you kind of I don't think there's any way that they could actually like have a athlete union, the way that players have it.
Right.
I just don't think, because none of them
sign
until
contracts. There's a pro cards, right? So right. Exactly. So like unless the structure of the world, the sport changes, there's no way, right? Because it's a community. It would be like basically like the US Open, right? All the time, right? Like anyone can qualify, which means that there's
that's golf too, right?
That's what I meant. Yeah. And so so like anyone can qualify in that. And there's like different places, and then they go through whatever their qualifying status. And so like until there's like pro cards, right? Like, and I know that there was like a talk at some point of potentially making pro cards, and that would like, for your top however many, and they just get invited to either the games or semifinals or whatever it may be. Until that would happen, that would be the only way that they would ever be able to create some form of union, right? Because if not, it would change every year. New people would come in and all of that kind of stuff. It's just not. I also don't know if it needs to be that professional, right? Like I was listening to Danny Soul on Street Parking's podcast yesterday. If you guys don't know who Danny Soul is, he's one of like my biggest mentors and influencers in the CrossFit space, and I learned just about everything I know from a programming standpoint from him. That might be like an insult to him because he's way better at it than I am, but I think he can deal with it. He was saying that he just doesn't think it needs to be more professional, that it's going to lose its luster. You know what I mean? It's going to lose its oomph. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting thought process of, like we can be maybe a little more professional, and then maybe like it's too much, right? Because it grew from the community. No other sport in the history of ever has done that, right? Not like this. You know what I mean? The community doesn't get to participate in the first stage of the preseason in the NFL, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, because that was going to be my question. Do you feel like that if it becomes professional, that it's going to lose the unknown and unknowable part that we all love from CrossFit? Because wouldn't it have to be a little bit more streamlined, I guess?
Known and knowable.
Yeah. Like, was it Seth that said something along the lines of like, the fun part about the games is that you don't know the tests. Even the tests that are created and that are released before the test, they're not usually the same. They might have a same flair to them, but they're not exactly the same unless it's a repeat, or if it's something as like straightforward as like we're gonna do a 1 rep max, like that's what we're doing. Do you feel like if it becomes professional that it's gonna lose the edginess of the games being a little bit unknown still?
No, I think it'll still remain that. I think other things will limit like its flair, right? Like it's going to continue to separate from the community and the relationship that we build with these high level athletes of like just being in your gym that Haley Adams goes to and trains, right? Like that's why it's flourished the way that it has, right? Because everyday people, because it's like we said, it's a small world, right? Like it's just not a big space. And so everyone is connected somehow. And I think that's why it's so successful. But if we professionalize it too far, athletes won't go to gyms anymore. They'll train by themselves. They'll have camps. They'll make a lot more money, you know, like it'll be very like the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer theoretically, right? Like there will be just a bigger separation. And I think that's probably a negative.
Trish 199, thank you for your entry to the John Young conversion camp. He's not converting me, but I love him to death and I love having conversations with him. Jody asked a question a while back that I didn't ask. Sorry, Jody Lynn.
I know what it is. It is, what is the connection between WODPREP and the movement doctor?
Yeah.
Sure. So the movement doctor is my self-given title. It's my clinic name. It's my physical therapy business name, my Instagram handle, but I'm the head coach of WODPREP. And so I've been working at WODPREP pretty much since I started the movement doctor as well. And so I manage our coaches. We have a one-on-one division. We have a template track. And then we sell courses. So I'm the head coach there, one of our content creators as well. Podcast host, I don't know, whatever. I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. You do.
So, the podcast thing is like literally last on the list. It just happens to be like what it looks. So yeah, I mean, I'm a one-on-one coach.
It's not, it can't be possibly the last on the list because you 100%. Do shows like every day though.
100%.
How do you find time for that? You got a 2-year-old running around.
A lot of grinding.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's awesome though.
We're in it.
Your wife's cool. She's like, hey babe, put it down for a second. Come hug me or something.
I am I'm
my
the
wife,
hugger.
that's what you said.
I'm the hugger.
I did.
I'm my love language is touch, hers isn't. So
okay.
So
she's like, get in there and do that podcast, bro.
So it's no, we just, late nights, early mornings. They go to, he goes to school with her. She's the director of the preschool that they go to at our church. And so we just lock it in. I play really, really loud electronic music in my headphones and I just start grinding out programming and for hours on end most days. And I don't play, as Jeff, I don't fucking play golf as much as I want to. That's Bennett's fault. 100% his fault.
Jeffrey Birchfield, is CJ a golf aficionado?
I would like to be way more of a golf aficionado. Maybe in time when we kind of like find some balance. But
can you explain golf to me? Why?
Dude is a beast. Yeah.
Why you guys? Fucking beast. Why golf is such a big thing?
It's just hard, right? So like think about it like this. Do you have any hobbies?
This.
Yeah,
this is my hobby.
All right, so
not just having a kid. I guess that's it.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
so let's talk about having a kid, right? So, like being a parent is the best thing ever, right? Because there's so many good moments. Like what's your son's name?
Garrett.
Okay, and super original.
I feel like it is because it's a dude named after his mom. Hello, have you ever heard? Like, come on now.
It
is original.
It is for sure. Is it a junior?
No, I
my middle name.
Yeah, I don't like my middle name.
All right.
And it took her forever.
That would have been original. That would have been like, you're a junior. Like, well, what's your dad's name? Like, well, it's Garrett.
And it's my mom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it took her forever to decide what we were going to name our son. And when she was like, Garrett, and I was like, great, cool. Now we need a middle name.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great moments in parenting. There's a lot of really hard moments, right? There's times where you're like, I just kind of want to like kick you in the chest right now. You know what I mean? And so golf is very similar in the sense of when you have a good moment in golf, like you hit a great shot, you're like, I'm fucking Tiger Woods. Like it's going to happen. I'm quitting my job and I'm going to be a scratch golfer and I'm going to win money. I'm going to join the tour. Right. But there's a lot of bad times and like you hit like shit and you miss the ball because it's a game of millimeters. Right. And then it's also just relaxing. Right. It takes a long time. I know a lot of people play golf probably to get away from their family and shit like that. But no, I just really, I mean, I really enjoy it. The challenge, right? Like similar to CrossFit, right? Like there's just something, there's always something to work on. Like unless very similar to CrossFit in the sense of like, we're doing the exact same thing the professionals are doing. They just do it at a higher level, right? That's probably the best way to describe it, right? And so that's why people get so drawn to it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like, yes, you might have to pay $600 to play, you know, like TPC Sawgrass, which is like where like a big event is, right? And so it's an expensive tee time, but you can play on the same course, you play the same holes that Tiger played, that Rory played, et cetera, et cetera. And so yeah, and it's hard, right? Like it's hard to learn. It's so rewarding to like get better at golf, right? Because like from like when you start and you fucking can't get the ball in the air to when you flush like a 5-iron 220 yards, you're just like, hell yeah. Like it's so rewarding, but it'll punch you in the face 99 times out of 100. But you get that one and you're like, I'm coming back for more, baby. Let me go get new clubs, right? Spend $500, something that I don't need. So yeah. So
I swear only dudes know anything about golf. I have I'll watch it.
No,
I won't watch it. I lied. I'm sorry. I never lie on the show. Bernie Gannon, John Wayne's real first name is Marion. And he changed it to John. So can you imagine if my first name was Mary? I would have to change it to Garrett. There's no way I could be a Mary. If you were calling me Mary right now, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Jake, God,
he's off the rails.
He is having a day.
I don't think he likes me.
No, he does. No, this is Jake. Jake is great. Golf is great because I get to walk around for hours dressed in 1950s gangster group of old men. Hey, listen, a lot of the guys I know walk around like that, and they just do it to get to drink beer, talk to the dudes, and like you said, kind of get out of the house and get away from their families. So, I don't know where we were at. Nobody knows.
US golf.
Oh, kids. Yeah, no, kids. He's your first. He's your one and only. This is your first. Any plans on two?
Yep. Hopefully, I don't know. Obviously, we say we want a girl, like just like complete the like full like cliche family, met in college, like the whole storyline. You know what I mean? Like
picket fence. One boy, one girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But I don't know if I can handle a girl. I don't know if I'm about that game. I don't think I want a girl.
You're gonna love her until you'll love her. Your wife might have she's gonna butt heads.
Yeah, 100%. So,
anything crazy with your kid? I remember for us there was a lot of milestones. We just
so he turns 2 next week on the 9th.
Oh, awesome.
So
that's
super stoked. Yep. I leave the next day to go man a competition that we're running in Denver, which I'm not super stoked about, but it just was how it fell. We're going camping the following week. He loves everything. He loves cars, like the movie, like his whole thing. Like he wakes up, first thing he says, so he sleeps in a slumber pod still, like, and he just sleeps great. So we're like, we're not taking him out of it. Like he's just going to stay in there forever. Like he sleeps 12 hours on like 12, 13 hours every night.
Unbothered.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And so like I'll go in there and I wake him up. And the first thing he says, he goes, watch Blaze. He loves Blaze, right? And he's like, watch Blaze. I'm like, no, we're not watching TV at 6 in the morning, all right, or 8 in the morning. We'll go to school. We're going to school. No, Blaze, mama. He's in a mama phase for sure. Loves his mama.
Oh yeah.
But man, like just before we got on the call, do you know what a Tony's box is? No. So it's just like this little music box, right? So they're like red. They got like, and they can be manned by the kid, right? There's like 2 little ears. You can turn the volume up and down, turn it on, and you buy like these $15.
Oh, the characters that you put on top. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
And so we have, I don't know, like 20 of them, right? And he listens to like, and we're listening to Mater from Cars. And it's like a slow song. And I was like, you want to dance with Dad? And so like, he was like, yes. And so like reached his arms up. He like put his head on my shoulder and we like danced for like 5 minutes. Like just in the living room, just me and him. And I was like, I was crying. Like I was just like, this is the best. I was like, this is the best. I was like, this is everything, right? Like, and I love being a father, like more than anything. And it is what drives me for all of it. Like I love that kid so much that like it's painful. Like we have a niece and nephew, and like we're their godparents and we've been part of their lives like since day one. We're very involved in their lives and I love them a lot. And I was like, man, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to love more than. I was like, and it's not even in the same universe. And I just like, and I love them a lot. And I would fucking put a bullet through someone's head for them. I'd cut someone's head off for Bennett without a doubt. Like I just wouldn't even blink an eye. And, you know, I love watching him grow. He talks so much for a 1-year-old, counts to 20. Like he's just like, you know, it's just, I just love every bit of it. I think he's left-handed, which I'm like, fuck. I'm like, shit, damn it. He's
Garrett was too, though. He was kind of ambidextrous for a while, and now that once he turned like 5 or 6, then you knew.
You can also like dexterity, all of it can be taught too. Like there's always the dominant, but like if you're like, I don't want to put him through like learning how to write left-handed and like that whole bit, you just teach them to be right-handed. Like it's just they'll lean one way, but you just keep putting the fork in their right hand, like they're gonna eat with their right hand. That's just how it works.
Slater, having a girl is awesome. CJ, I have a boy and a girl, best of both worlds.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, I mean, younger girl, older boy, like that's the whole gist, you know, like they said, like the nuclear family.
You want your brother to protect
cliche.
yeah,
sure,
right.
So
it's all fun.
I'm fine with whatever.
So you have to go buy tampons. Good luck with that. With your daughter.
Yeah.
It's fine for your wife, but when you have to take your daughter and she's like 13, then it gets a little awkward.
Yeah.
Nah, my dad was a rock star. My dad,
yeah, I think I'll be fine.
Give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't care. There's not. I can't wait to embarrass Bennett at like every turn of his whole life. Same thing with my daughter. Like none of that stuff bothers me. Like I'm all for it. I'm ready for it. If like we have a kid, doesn't bother me. It'll bother her way more than it'll bother me.
I'm sure it will. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Vindicate. I do that shit all the time. It's easy. Yeah. I never let my grandfather go in the store with me when I had to buy that. I was like, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna do it myself.
No, my father did not give a fuck.
My grandfather didn't want to go, and I didn't want him to go in there with me, so I was fine. 3 daughters. Yeah, girl dads.
Sheesh.
Girl dads are fun. Maybe. Yeah, you're okay. So your wife sounds like a complete rock star. She's
savage. She's a savage. She's a preschool director. She's been in preschool like her whole career. She works for a different company when I was in PT school. Held the reins, made the money because I wasn't making shit. I was just losing money every day in school. I wouldn't be a PT without her. And not because like she supported me through it, but I literally would have gone a completely different profession without being with my wife. She introduced me to certain people. They convinced me to get out of the strength and conditioning world than the gym that I was a part of. So we'll tell the story, right? So I was in the strength world, right, for a couple of years as an intern and going that route. And so, which is a long route, right? Like it's very challenging to be a strength and conditioning coach in the collegiate setting, 80-hour work weeks, 50 weeks a year. And if it's a football school, you're traveling with football for 13 weeks out of the year, right? It's super challenging. And you don't make a lot of money, especially in 2012 when I was getting out of undergrad. And so I kind of made a decision. I was like, I think I'm going to go to PT school to kind of like bridge the gap, right? I was always like, I'm going to bridge the gap between performance and rehab. There's this, missing piece. Yeah. And so then I found CrossFit right before then. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of a really good gym down in Miami. But the people that convinced me to go PT over strength were PTs that my wife knew, right? That were in the space, and so they were like, hey, we did the strength thing too. And you just get lucky, right? And
were you guys married already?
Nope. I have a good marriage story too. Let me bring it up. We have we have a great origin story too. I think some of the chat knows it, but me and my wife's origin story is solid. It involves me being jumped in New Orleans. Yeah. So, I'll come back to it if you remind me. So we go to Miami. She introduces me, and I was going to go to Miami without her. And she was like, absolutely not. She's like, we won't make it. And I was like, you're not coming. And she's like, I'm coming. And I was like, all right. So she came. We probably wouldn't have made it. And she left Pensacola. If you guys don't know, Pensacola is like super Bible Belt conservative town. She grew up on a golf course, right? And then moved to the west, like the west quarter of Miami in Coral Way and Kendall, in Westchester, which is very, very Hispanic. There probably wasn't a handful of people within a square mile of us that even knew English, where we lived, right? And she grew up in like in this, like we're like in, you know, like Southern country here. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to put a ring. I married her, right? asked her to marry me, and she left everything to be part of it. And so, while we were in school, you know, like I fell in love with CrossFit, and I was like, I'm going to do the doc in a box thing. Right. And that was like the thing. I was going to be a PT inside of a CrossFit gym and all of that jazz. And so one of her best friends, still one of her best friends, her boyfriend was into CrossFit, and so we became friends. We would come back to Pensacola, and I would train at the gym, and I got to know the gym owners. I need to like hide the chat. Chat is on fire.
You can't. No, they're on fire right now. Like, yeah,
I gotta like hide. I gotta pull it off my screen.
I'm smiling at it too.
And so, anyway, so that relationship ended up. So we graduate school. I get licensed. I'm like, I'm gonna do the doc in a box thing, and we're at his bachelor party. Right, they're gonna get married, and at the bachelor party, him and the two other guys that were there, they owned Mako, where my clinic was. They're like, hey, do you want to open up the clinic in Mako? And I'm blitzed, right? We're like shit hammered. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I call a parent. I'm like, we're moving to Pensacola. This is like, we were not moving to Pensacola at this time. Like we were in Orlando and we were staying there, and I was going to open a clinic there and like do the thing. And her job was based out of there. And she's like, let's just talk about this like at any other time. And I was like, all right, cool. Bam. And so we talked about it. I passed my boards 2 months later, and I got a job in Orlando, and we were still there. And I was like contemplating the opening my own clinic. And so I was like, I'm just going to do it. And so I moved to Pensacola. We still had like 3 months on our lease, and she was still working in Orlando. Had to get her job was remote, so she could move, but she just needed to be able to travel from wherever we were. So we finished out the lease and moved in with her mom. And so I opened the clinic, and this was in January of 2017. And so where the clinic is in Mako is where WODPREP started. Okay. So Ben started WODPREP in Mako, right? But he was already gone in Japan. His wife was a helo pilot for the Navy. And so he was already in Japan, but they connected us. And so I was growing my my clinic and stuff through social media. Ben was growing through social media. And so we got connected. And so that's how it started. And so like all of those connections to get me to like become a part of WODPREP, like are solely from like my wife and like who she was and like the people she knew and things like that. So I attribute all of my success to her, or at least all the doors being open were because of her. 100%.
How long between you guys dating and you proposing? How long was that?
Long years, like 7 years. We dated all throughout college.
So how long have you been together? Because haven't you been married?
We've been together. We've been married since 2016. So I guess it wasn't 7 years. 7 years to like getting married, and we got together beginning of 2011, like January 17th or something like that, 2011. And then we then we got engaged on my birthday, 2014, and then we got married secretly. No one knew. Our wedding was planned for April 17. April 17, but we got married April 16 for like tax stuff and whatever, like, it's just to kind of take some of the pressure off. And so, yeah, so we were married for a year before anyone knew.
Us too.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nobody knew that we were either.
Yep.
Well, I mean, for different reasons, we would have gotten in trouble.
Different reasons. Like, so, family can be
annoying
assholes at times. So we were like, fuck it.
She's I mean, it's just like stress. Our wedding like ended up being, I mean, it was great, right? But like we woke up that day, and I think like the hair girl like canceled that morning, and my wife's dress like still didn't fit. It had been like altered like 10 times every time she went in to get it fixed. The lady was like, oh, did you like lose weight? She's like, no, you just haven't altered it. Right. And so like ended up like her mom had to like stitch her in it and like pull it tight and like, And so it like those things would like usually just like kill a bridezilla, right? Like completely derail the day. And so and it didn't, because we were just like, it is what it is. We were already married, and it was just a party.
Yeah. We'll do that one day.
Jonathan Ortega, whose flag is that up there, CJ? I keep forgetting that.
Yep. So you can see over there, that's my pops. It's an AI picture, like an old picture pulled
That's really
in.
cool.
And
I've seen those.
This is like, I think it's watercolored. And so this is like Bennett's first birthday pictures. And so they just put like an old photo up there. I think it's that photo actually that's like in that picture, with me and my son. So yeah,
That's
Bennett.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, grumpy ass old Italian. God, he would have been such a good granddad though, but he was so fucking grumpy.
Aren't they always really good as grandparents?
He would have been such a great grandparent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My grandfather was cool as shit, and he basically raised me too. So like they just yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I appreciate you. I would love to get into so much more, but our kid has a time limit for how long he'll like
hang,
before
he comes back and forth and back and
starts,
forth. Yeah.
It's just a
cool.
Yeah. But
no problem.
I definitely I want to have you back on because I have to ask you so many more questions, and it's fun that you don't mind talking politics because I really like it whether I agree with the person or not. So
yeah.
I would love to
conversations. So.
Yeah, I'll do it again because I definitely want to find out how you ended up talking, like you do your show by yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Bro, that's balls. That is giant cojones to do that. That's like that's crazy. Fuck it. He'll give us 15 minutes. When did you start doing that? Was that the original?
No. I mean, like my first show. So I was like, WODPREP is like an internet marketing company, right? We sell product, but like we're an internet marketing. It's what we do, right? We sell content through online management, right? And online marketing. And so our goal is to just continue to produce more content. Well, we have a lot of content avenues, but we kind of compete for space, right? So the goal was how can we
Told you it took 2 seconds. I knew what time it was, and then he's in my ear. Yeah. No. Go ahead. He's fine. I gave him a snack. It's good. He's eating.
It's important.
That's how we do it for sure. And so I was like, how can we create more content without cannibalizing the email list, blogs, social media, and like not require high-end YouTube video creation because that takes money and time, etc. And I was like, here, this is what Savon's doing, and I showed Ben like the
choose wisely.
the episode like the episode of Colton like doing the burpees, and like there was like money coming in, and I was like, it could be a revenue stream in time, right? Blah blah blah. And so it just started as like, all right, well, he's like, what are you gonna talk about? I was like, I don't know, anything. I was like, whatever, like the CrossFit space, like what does it matter? And I was like, we have a big following, and we can leverage that, right? We can create like another revenue stream in general. And so we like went on a hiring thing, and I had just seen Travis do the spin cast for the East semifinals.
Yeah,
and I was cool. Like, I think I want Travis on there. And then Travis was like, hey, we should get John. And I was like kind of on the fence. I was like, John's everywhere, whatever. It's like, but I love having John. I think obviously he's an amazing addition to the team. And so I hired both of them. Right. And so and that was it. And I was like, well, how can we just continue to put out content? Right. Like, what do we do?
No,
do we do interviews?
What makes you just be like, yo, I'm gonna go on by myself and talk about whatever? Do you plan these shows? Do you have something written? You just go on literally with coffee and just start talking about whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll think about it a little bit, right? Like, so kind of like what I said earlier, right? Like there's no like the pressure you feel from like operating like this, like a very good show, right? It doesn't, not saying that like I don't feel the pressure, but it's just content. Right? Like it's just content. People are there, they're listening, they want to chat. I like to talk. I like to hear my own voice. Right? It is what it is. Right? I actually hate hearing my own voice. Like you just like hate it. I've never rewatched anything that I've done. Like not one. I don't even like to pull clips. I'm like, I don't know. How am I gonna go find something? I gotta listen to like
the whole
listen.
Nope, you have
listen.
Oh, if you listen to yourself at like 1.5 or 2 speed, it's really fun. It's very funny.
That sounds better.
That'll make you laugh.
And so the coffee thing, I want to build a quote unquote fan base, right? Like in a follower base that isn't totally tied to John, be honest. And that's like generally what it is, right? John brings in a lot of John-isms. And so, and it was good, right? And so our goal of the podcast is to promote WODPREP, right? And if I'm on there, we're promoting WODPREP across the board, right? We want to try and, I mean, I'll be honest, I want to beat everybody. That's just always my goal, right? Like Pepsi's goal is beat Coke or whatever, vice versa, whatever it is. I want to beat everybody. So
your WCW trying to beat the WWE. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
They lost. I don't want to
exactly
put that on you.
And so that's the general goal, is just increase content, right? And I just like getting on and chatting, right? Sometimes it's great. I mean, there's not that many views, when there's like
you have
4,000 views, and it's like, all right, maybe be a little more structured or whatever it is. And
we get it.
So
we like our 100 and something views that we get usually when it's just the two of us, and we tend to get a little bit more when we have a guest, but we enjoy, because we've watched ourselves go from 0 to 2 to 5 to 10. So we know when it's just the two of us that we're gonna have those core people, like you said, like the core group that you have,
and it's fun.
And that are going to come hang and listen to us talk to each other, and
you get to talk like this. You get to talk however you want, and it's not there's not like a you know what I mean. I'm not gonna lie, I freaked out. And then now that you said that video is the biggest video you've ever had, like fucking freaked out by that. Like
I mean, I think all of our other live podcasts that I started doing from, I think it was like July 2nd, in totality, I don't think. We had another one like that weekend that had like 8,000 views. The one when me and Gus were live.
Yeah. Gus is really hot, by the way.
What?
Gus is really hot, by the way.
Okay.
I went through his Instagram.
It caught me off guard. He's a beefcake for sure.
He is absolutely. He's fucking hot. Gus is hot.
Jan and
we
and
went
Jake
through his Instagram. They made me pull him up on the screen.
He's a stud for sure. Caught me off guard. Threw me off. I was like,
my fault. Continue on. My fault.
So, I think all of them combined haven't reached like whatever the views were for that. If you did
let me ask these viewer questions, because somebody's yelling at me that I didn't ask all the questions they wanted to know. What age did you first grow your goatee? Because Jake's on a roll.
Yeah. I started, I sort of grew it a little bit throughout college, but then it kind of came in full time right after PT school, right when I left PT school. So when I started the Movement Doctor, so like late 2016, 17. And I think I shaved it once, and my wife was like, don't ever fucking shave it again. And I was like, all right, sounds good. It's staying.
Did you get married in Vegas?
Nope. We got married in our apartment complex. There was like this little gazebo, like over like a little fountain, right? And it's like one of my buddies came up, took photos, and then my other buddy who married us both times. He got ordained like in Florida. And then we had another buddy there, and then we went to Islands of Adventure, and
that's awesome.
Got wasted and rode roller coasters all day.
That's awesome.
I think I hit everything. I can hear my kids starting to come back in this room. So
cool.
But yeah, we'll definitely have to do this again, dude. Like super fun. And maybe I can get you into a. Well, I mean, they kind of already got you into the dude chat. We were chatting about some shit that we don't normally talk about when a guest is on. So there you go.
I'm ready. I love it.
Awesome, guy. Thank you.
Cool.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. That was fun. Y'all were on fire tonight. Are you gearing up? Are you gearing up for the spin podcast tonight? Because I feel like you're just getting in a warm up for the spin podcast.
Spin's on tonight?
I think he's on with Ariel Lowen in a little bit, like an hour or so.
Yeah. I mean, I know we talked about like CrossFit for the majority of it, but it was cool to kind of get his perspective.
We haven't talked since that weekend. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's very crazy. So
but yeah. Oh shoot. Sorry, Jonathan. CJ LW. Oh, okay. Sorry. You'll DM him. That's fine. But yeah, that was fun. I thank you guys. Thanks for always hanging out. Trish, thanks for hopping in. Jake, thanks for hopping in.
As always.
Jeff Birch, it's always good to see you.
Kenneth, Bernie.
Garrett, are you watching the Mets? I didn't see it. Did they win yesterday? I didn't see it yesterday. I knew they won one and we were excited. And then I don't know what happened yesterday. I was afraid to look at the paper this morning. I really was. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I'm kind of like New York sports is kind of killing me right now. Omar, you had a comment at the beginning that was fucking hilarious, and I couldn't pull it up because it's all the way at the top. It was something about a gluten freak off or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was really,
I saw it.
It was really funny. Kudos to you. That was amazing.
Yep.
I was laughing on the inside for real.
Yep.
Jake off to bed. Nighty night, homie. I'll hit you up soon. Rolo is on Friday at 7.
Yeah. Friday.
So come hang out with us. We'll probably be Jeffrey Birchfield. Hate the Giants lost to Dallas. Not. Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't a win for y'all. I was talking about it with a buddy of mine. That was almost a win.
I mean, technically, weren't you guys supposed to like
that doesn't
sweep?
Did that give you confidence beating us by 5 points? Like, did that really make you feel?
No, this is the best sports talk that I got because I don't know shit.
I'm just saying.
So,
but you know, I wasn't expecting to win that game, even though I told a bunch of people I was going to talk a lot of shit, and then I definitely still talked a lot of shit because you didn't beat us by. All right, fine. A win's a win. Yeah, okay. You squeaked out of the Giants. I get it.
Papa Birch
I understand.
has spoken.
Yeah, that's fair.
Papa Birch has spoken. It's cool.
You win.
All right, so we'll see you Friday.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Friday 7. Rolo.
7 later than normal, but that's what we got. So we'll see you guys at 7 on Friday.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah. All right, cool, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Love y'all.
See you next time.
Later.